My fault this time. See, Sandra, I said it had to go into my hands because I forget it. So, St. Francis of Assisi is the patron saint of animals. And of course, we know that anima, which is part of the first part of that word, of animal, means soul, spirit, breath, life. And so we know that as you were speaking, that souls will be in heaven. And as you probably already know, that we did find Malachi. Though he has passed, at least we know where he lay. And that we will ride again, because I know that they cross over to heaven as well, which is what St. Francis of Assisi would preach and to say. At first, though, he wasn't such a grand guy. He grew up as a very spoiled child. His father was very rich, and he sold cloth and apparel. And so he was pretty spoiled. When he was a teenager, I guess his autobiography says that his friends and he would dine out, drink a lot, and do a lot of debauchery. And so he's a wee bit on the crazy side. However, at the age of 21, Assisi went to war. And because he could wear this beautiful suit and have a regal horse, he went as well. He volunteered to go. However, Assisi fell. And what happened is that he was captured and arrested and kept in prison for a full year. This was not a great space to be, my friends. As you can imagine, it was dark and miserable and cold, and he starved and he was beaten. So that when he was returned, when his father could finally purchase him back, when he returned, he was not the same person that he was. He was not out with his friends and doing all sorts of partying and having such great fun. What he was doing every day was going out to a church that was on the outskirts of the city that had been run down and closed, and he would sit there for days in prayer. And he would pray and pray and pray. He does this for a few years, and then at 25, his father calls him before a magistrate and says to the magistrate, "You must get my son, talk him some sense into him. He's out there praying every day, and I need help in my offices and running my business. You must demand that he give me everything that I'm owed, and he must come here and work for me." And so Francis of Assisi, he says, "Yes, my father is right. Everything that I have is his." And so what he does is strip down to nothing, leaves everything behind, and goes back to this abandoned church to pray. And over time, he is told by God that he is to build that church and to build a following that are to help the poor and to help the animals as well and to help all of creation. It was said that St. Francis of Assisi, when he would preach, that he would practice first preaching to the birds. Kind of like I do to the horses, hoping they don't fall over asleep on me or anything, right? He would preach to the birds. And then he would, when it would rain, it was said that even when the little worms came up, he would walk along and start putting everyone back. Wouldn't get very far, would he? But he was all about the animals. He was all about creation. That was his niche in the world. And so he would preach in this church and had his followers come with him. And his greatest preaching and teaching in that time was that all were one. Everything. Now, this may be called pantheism if you looked it up in a dictionary. Pantheism means that in Christianity we believe that everything is a product of God. You see, we know that this chair, though it's just a material piece, all those materials came from the earth and from God. And so everything that we see, everything that we touch, is of God. And that's what St. Francis of Assisi taught. And the Celts would go out into the world, the Celtic people, the Scots, and they would hold up a stone and they would say, "This and the Bible are my basis, are what I'm grounded in God." Everything was of God, and everyone had that light and that part of God within them. And that is what he taught us, to be good to one another, to be inclusive, to be loving. There was not Jew or Gentile, as Paul and Jesus told us. There's not a difference in race and color. There are no differences. We are grounded in the earth of God and in the Word of God this day through St. Francis of Assisi.